Hi, everyone. This is a new episode of You Gotta Act, a podcast about actors and acting. For this new episode, my very special guest is screenwriter, filmmaker, principally screenwriter Daniel Waters.
Hey there.
Hi, Daniel.
All that applause.
Yeah, just me, but it means a lot since I'm the host. So there you go. So Daniel, you kindly chose to talk about a very interesting person, I think, which is Kristen Stewart. But before we get to that, if you
Yeah,
could tell us.
I hope. To me, it seems like this should be episode 107. Like you should have been doing Betty Davis, Barbara Stanwyck, Brando, and
Right.
then we get to episode 107, Kristen Stewart. But I think she's going to be very interesting. She's going to be
Yeah,
different. But I
definitely.
feel like maybe you should have done a couple months of all the normal big people. But
I mean,
Barbara
define
Stanwyck,
normal. Yeah, but define normal, Like, I think that's the
exactly.
thing. Like, when I watch Barbara Stanwyck, when I saw her films, I was just like, she's amazing. She's super modern. So, it's not film, is a record of time. And so they're stuck in time, but that means you can watch them at any time. So I think it's all good.
Absolutely.
That's my theory I just came up with right now.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
So before we get into Kristen Stewart, if you could please introduce yourself and explain a bit what your journey has been in cinema.
oh, the journey question. I'm already prepared.
You've learned your
Yeah.
lines.
Well, I actually like a previous guest of yours. I'm from a little city in Indiana, in the middle of the country, South Bend, Indiana, with Larry, and I was in the same TV show as Larry Karaszewski, a little Saturday Night Live show for teenagers, and we both learned a lot of writing and even acting. He had much more acting dreams than I did. I was an embarrassing actor, and then it's part of the way why I still marvel at actors, because I think my best sketch was I was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island, only with American Gigolo. So it was American Gilligan and a parody of American Gigolo. That was my high point as an actor. But
That does sound pretty special, though, I have to say. I would
yes,
like to see it.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Yes.
Um, yeah, but then I came out to California. I went to school in Montreal at McGill University, but I just knew I was going to. I was at a very young age. I knew I was going to be a screenwriter, so I came out to LA. And I can't recommend enough, whether you're an actor or a writer or a director. Complete naivete is one of the strongest superpowers that doesn't get credit enough. I think too many people read about how to be a screenwriter and how to do this. It's better if you just come out here and be completely naive, because I wouldn't have written my first weird dark script, Heathers, if I would have thought about, like, well, what's selling right now, what do
Yeah.
people need right now. But I was working in a video store way before Tarantino, and I just wrote a script while I was working in a video store, and it just kind of happened for me. But yes, but I've always had the attitude, like, I feel like a lot of stories have been done before, almost all of them. So it's always about me trying to be original, trying to write the greatest movie never made.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But yeah, no, I like this. I like your show, because sometimes you have actors talking about acting and directors talking about acting, but writers talking about acting is interesting too, because like when I'm writing a script, I kind of know the way it's going to look. I kind of know the way it's going to feel, but I'm always shocked at what actors do. Like that my screenplays, the good ones and the bad ones, the critics, when they're liking them and hating them, they all agree that they're a little overwritten.
Right.
They got a little too much going on in each line.
I
Like
see.
somebody said, one critic said my script for Heathers, the dialogue was so arch you could build a second high school on top of it. But but so,
I
like, I've
see.
always had that problem, and it reminds, not to toot my own horn, I always try to be, I want to be like Shakespeare, where even the gravedigger gets a good line. But then when I see Shakespeare, I'm always loving the actors who just throw it away, who can just,
Totally.
like, not make a big deal of it. So this is why I learned to love acting, is because, Winona Ryder and Heathers and Michelle Pfeiffer and Batman Returns, like, I made these huge, over dramatic, over the wit on the staircase. I forget what it is in France, but everybody's speaking with the wit in the escalier.
Oh, l'esprit d'escalier. Yeah.
Yeah, I like all my characters to speak like that.
Right.
So right there in the room, so they don't have to go to the staircase. They're right there in the room saying it. So it's always amazing to me when an actor can do this kind of my falseness is so revealed in the dialogue, and when an actor can play it like real, it gives the movie a soul, and I'm always shocked, always surprised.
Absolutely. We watched with Alessandro, my producer, we watched Batman Returns yesterday, and
Oh.
it totally translates like what you're saying, like Michelle Pfeiffer saying, "Honey, I'm home," or "No, I forgot I'm not married," like twice or three times. It really works because it could be, and I do think you're right. I think actors make it come to life if they're good and if they know what they're doing. And it is the same as Shakespeare. It is exactly the same because what counts
That's
is,
what I say. I'm exactly the
yeah.
same as Shakespeare. I tell that all the
No, I mean,
time.
the process for the actor is the same. They have to
Yes.
have a feeling about what they're saying. They have to let the feeling come to them, and it works. And Michelle Pfeiffer coming home being depressed, that's Shakespearean. If it could be, you know what I mean? So I totally get that.
Cool,
Amazing.
cool.
When we watched Batman and Demolition Man, we had so many questions, and I would love
Oh
to ask
my
you all these
God.
questions, but I think it's gonna be
I is one of them about seashells, I think, but
no, actually, no. Can I ask one, and then we can go into Kristen Stewart? But I think it's important. And also, yeah, the same. Sandra Bullock in Demolition Man, she says
oh
those
yeah.
crazy lines perfectly. I mean, I think she's one of the greatest comedic actresses of
Oh yeah,
Hollywood,
no,
and she makes it so
she was a
real.
godsend. She was, and this
Mm,
is before she had really done anything, but
right.
she really, I mean, again, like that whole script is a here's my problem as a writer. I never met a tone I didn't like. So I'll have everything all over the place, and sometimes I need the director or the actor to choose just where they're going. But Sandra did this thing where she could make the line funny but make it serious at the same time, and like
Mm,
and play it real at the same time. And
yeah.
it's the degree of difficulty is crazy, but she makes it look effortless.
Mm. It makes me think of when I trained for acting, we did a whole semester on impediments, like learning to act with a broken arm or whatever. And it seems like what she was doing was learning to act realistic when you speak like a robot from the future. So, and she did that amazingly. So, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, she makes the movie for me. Like I can, it gets my stuff is Sandra Bullock's. Like a lot of the action, turgid, another car chase. But when Sandra Bullock comes on, like, oh, here's me again. So I
Right.
love it.
Yeah. So, my question I had was Sandra Bullock's character first written to later be revealed to be Stallone's daughter?
Oh my gosh, you come up with an interesting question. The the answer is completely no,
Okay.
but it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre because there was an actual in the movie. His daughter is now older than him. So and
Right.
we shot a scene in the movie where he runs into his daughter who's older than Stallone, and this was
Right.
this tender long scene. Um, and we cut out of the movie because it was slowing the pace, slowing the action down. But then we just cut, the filmmakers and I, we just cut it, no problem, forget about it. And then when we sat to watch the movie in a test screening, like when they had a love scene, the whole audience is going, "Oh no, oh my God!" And we're like, "What are they doing? What are they doing?" And then we realize, oh, they think it's his daughter, and there's nothing we could do. Like it was just we had to live with it.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's absolutely something we have. And
Okay.
now the producer Joel Silver, like I think the movie's more popular than ever now. That it's liked more than ever now. So he was talking about a sequel, and and we remember that she's supposed to be older than Stallone. So we're like, we got to get Meryl Streep to play the daughter.
That would be
And
amazing.
I go, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's covered. I don't need to ask anything else for now. It's fine. Thank you. So, Kristen Stewart, when did you first notice Case 2? When did you first get
The
interested in
case
her?
too.
Case 2?
Well, I guess the first time I noticed her was as Jodie Foster's daughter in Panic Room.
Yeah,
And
me
even
too.
then, she was not a normal kid. She was had such a strange intensity that I was completely captivated by her. And then right after that, she did a crappy little kids movie called Catch the Kid
Right.
about these kids in high school become spies. And like, I see everything, by the way. You know, I see every single movie. I see 300. Back before the pandemic, I would see over 300 movies in a theater, first run movies. So I see everything. So I see Catch the Kid. I go, oh, it's the girl from Panic Room. Like, I have photographic memory of too many actors. Like, when people ask who's my favorite actor, like steam comes to my ears because I know too many. But
I can
but
relate.
this is I see so many crappy kid movies, and even in that movie, Catch the Kid, she is so deadpan. She's so herself.
Right.
Like, I mean, one of my many theses about Kristen Stewart is a lot of actors like to disappear into their role. That's what we call good acting. I always think the role disappears into Kristen Stewart. That she has created this kind of this 21st century idiom. She's this slouching, sulking, slurring kind of piece of perfection, but she brings every movie back to herself,
Mm.
which I think is sometimes can be very interesting, especially with genre movies where you could go so wrong so easily, and she just keeps it such on her, keeps it in her world, which
Mm.
is which can be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I noticed her in Panic Room, but I remember watching Panic Room and thinking the kid was actually good, which is rare in films. Um, and yeah, I think this idea of her deconstructing genres, like you said, is fascinating because, for instance, we actually watched Charlie's Angels, the remake, which was
I, I'm sorry about the movie, but come on, she
yeah,
is incredible in that movie.
absolutely. And I think the problem with the film comes from the fact that she's the only one who of the cast that understands what the film is trying to, oh actually no, like the film is no is doing a basic thing which is following the basic genre rules, but she remembers the original Charlie's Angels movies that were parodies, that were taking the piss of the spy genre. And so she understands that, and so she doesn't feel the need to act like the spy, and instead she's herself being a spy, like you were saying, and that makes it
Yeah,
funny to
well,
me.
yeah. I mean, there's this whole thing right now of the strong female character,
Yeah, it's
and
a
to
plague
me,
on
there's a
this
lot
film.
of myth to it, in that the
Mm.
strong female character is like, oh, she beat up a team of hitmen on a staircase, and like, oh, and she's riding. There's a person riding a motorcycle with a helmet on. She takes it off, and it's a woman. Oh my god! Like, to me, we're so past that. To
Yeah.
me, like, don't make women just another version of men. Like, you know, nobody wants to see female Steve McQueen. What she understood, I love that this Charlie's Angels, the remake, has this girl power theme, but she resists the attempts to make artificially empower her, and she presents the true power of the feminine. Like, it's not about kicking ass, it's not about surly delivering exposition, it's about like the way you can subvert a situation. And I mean, she has so many, I mean, just the way she says the coast is clear, like she can't. And then when she tries to do exposition, she adds, see, I know stuff. Like she just gives a little tweak to everything. And
Yeah.
it's got one of the great pieces of screwball comedy dialogue, and she delivers it so amazing. I got to do it over. I got to see if I can remember it. A gunfight broke out at my wedding. You were married? No, I was the better shot. That's brilliant. And she just throws it away. Like, I want to see,
Yeah.
like, I start to imagine Kristen Stewart in other movies like Clarice Sterling, and like, I think she'd be
Mm.
great in Science Lamps. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, going off on a tangent.
No, I totally agree. I think, and it's interesting you mentioned Clarice Starling because she acted in Panic Room with Jodie Foster. And I think
Yeah,
Jodie
yeah, that's
Foster has a similar quality of, like you said, just delivering the lines and not trying to do something. She just lets the lines do something to her
yeah.
while staying herself in a way.
I think I said to you like that she takes the bombast out of bombastic movies. She takes the melodrama out of drama, and I called her my heroine, that
Yeah.
she brings everything down in a great, interesting way. I mean, as a writer, I always feel that okay, all the great stories, all the great narratives have been done before. And I think Kristen Stewart, maybe I'm, you know, putting actions in her mouth, but that she seems to know this too. That so when she sees a narrative that we've all seen 100 times before, she pulls back on it and gives it, like I said, brings it into herself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And
I want to see her do Shakespeare.
yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if has she done theater. I don't think she has.
I don't think she has. I don't know if it would work for her. I
Yeah,
don't know what.
exactly. I think she's a very she works well on camera because she has such discreet expressions, and I think that's why I read some reviews from the Twilight days, and I saw that when the first Twilight came out, a lot of critics said that she was just blank and wooden and not even there.
Oh,
And I kind of understand where they're coming from, but I think it's because of what you're saying, which is that she kind of brings it back to reality. And she's playing a normal teenage girl who finds out that some guy she likes is a vampire. I mean, how do you even act that? You know,
yeah,
it's a
that's
challenge.
it's I mean, she sells it to me. She sells
Mm,
it, she sells the whole nonsense of it. And those books are really nonsensical. I mean, they just, even on their own vampire level, don't make a lot of sense, but she
mm.
makes it real. Like, let's bring up an actress that of course you would think was on You Gotta Act, that everybody loves, that everybody says is a great actress, Kate Blanchett, who when she's playing a larger than life character, I can like her. I can like her. But like Kate Blanchett, like there's a scene in Carol, which is a great movie, but where she's on the phone while she's cooking eggs, and I'm not believing anything. Like, I'm not believing her. This is the way people talk on the phone. I'm not believing eggs. And then meanwhile, you got Kristen Stewart, who's flying in the air with the vampire, and I completely believe it.
Right.
Like,
That's a very interesting comparison. Yeah. I see what you mean. I think Kate Blanchett has some kind of theatricality to her. I mean, she's a theater actress as well, you
yes,
know.
which I like,
It
but
works in some films, you know. Like I think she makes genre films, real genre films. Like if you watch The Talented Mr. Ripley, she's the perfect stereotype of what she's playing. But like if you put Kristen Stewart in that, that would be completely different. That would
yeah,
not work with the other actors, you know.
yeah, like when Cate Blanchett can match the height and reality, like
Yeah.
I think it works. Although, and I also think when Kristen Stewart de-heightens reality, it works too. So
Yeah. It's just a different tactic, completely different.
yes,
It's a different way to make the spectator feel something. Because I love to watch Kate Blanchett and be amazed and be like, I don't understand how she looks that way in every shot. And I like to watch Kristen Stewart and feel like she's like shaking me out of my stupor of being like, oh, this is a movie. Like she's like, no, this is a story about a human being going through something. And I'm like, ooh, that's terrifying, you know, in a cool
yes,
way. I think she's very intimidating in a way. Like in her vulnerability and her awkwardness, she makes you feel weird.
yeah. No,
Makes me feel
I
weird.
have a I you know even if all her films are not great, and she's got some weaknesses too that we can talk about later after we praise her some more. But yeah, no, I have a collect like my brain has a collection of like line readings and little ticks that she does that blow me away. Like, I mean, there's a scene in Certain Women where there's a wrapped napkin and knife, and she won't unwrap it, and she's wiping her mouth with the napkin around the. I
I
thought
know.
that
It's so
amazing,
weird.
and then the very last scene of Adventureland is a sex scene, and just the way she briefly can't get her pants off, and she gives her jeans like an angry look. Like, I mean, it's incredible. Huh? I mean,
Yeah.
I have where's my list? I had a list here somewhere.
I mean, yeah,
Oh,
she
there's a line. We'll talk about her core text, the great, amazing Clouds of Silmaria. But there's a
mm,
line, but there's a line in that movie where I think I'll say goodnight, where she just says, which is just like, I think maybe good night now. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah. It's when
It's
they had the weird moment and she's like, I think I'll go to bed now or something. Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing.
It's just like, yeah,
Yeah. I think that's a peak awkward moment, and I think she makes awkward moments cinematic. Like they don't stand out as like a mistake. Instead, they are like that's where the drama is, and she makes that so real and gripping.
Yeah,
And yeah,
because
Klaus Silsmira especially.
we're used to seeing, like, I have a little trouble with modern day acting in a little bit way, in that I feel like everybody's trying to nail it. Everybody's trying to
Mm,
win the scene, kind of. Like I see even commercials. I see commercials, and like I think the subtext is nothing to do with the commercial, but it's like, I booked a national ad and I can pay my rent this month. Like everybody's so happy to have the role that they try to kill it,
right.
and it's always off-putting. And like I'm going on a rant here, but the second season of every TV show always drives me nuts, because the second season, no one's actually playing their character anymore. They're playing, I'm an actor in a hit show, and here, look at me do my thing right now. So
I see exactly
like,
what you mean.
there's a certain comfort level that I think pushes me away as a spectator.
Mm,
And Kristen Stewart doesn't have a comfort level. I think she's always got this, even the most normal pass me the sugar lines, she milks in her own little juices, that it suddenly feels weird and real, and
yeah,
it invites
it's
me in.
yeah, it's and I think that's perfectly right. And I was about to bring up something I read. I read the David Mamet book about acting
Oh
recently,
yeah, it's a
and
great book.
amazing book. And he says something at some point about how, I mean, it's something he explains very well, but basically he says that, when you're an actor and you're trying to do a scene, you get frustrated and you think it's because you think you're doing it wrong or you're not good enough. But the truth is that it's the text itself that wants you to feel that way. So don't worry about it. If you feel uncomfortable, that's probably because you're reading, if you're doing Hamlet, who's like thinking about his dad, of course you're gonna be uncomfortable. The guy is like struggling. So like,
Yeah,
and I think that's what Kristen Stewart really does. She lets the text make her uncomfortable to a level that is, like you said, super unusual these days. Like now I feel like so many contemporary actors, we like them because they can be confident. And like,
yes,
it's a different kind of courage. Like David Mamet talks a lot about how acting basically is being brave and like going and being like, okay, I'll fuck up or I'll feel like shit, but I'll do it. I'll go and say my lines. It's like the courage of stepping on stage or whatever. But it's not the courage of pretending like you're nailing it. It's the courage of being wrong or being awkward or making people uncomfortable. And I think she does that all the time. And that's why I used to not understand why she was a massive star, because I was like, that's not what movie stars are. Like, we're
yeah.
meant to admire them. We're meant to be like, oh, they're so much better than us. And I mean, she is in the way that she can be herself and be weird and be okay with that.
Yeah, no, I'm always dazzled by even when she hosted Saturday Night Live, and she was doing some goofy sketches, but still she brought it to Kristen Stewart world, and that it was funny because she was not they have a way of acting on that show, and she would still do Kristen Stewart, and it made it funny. Still, it was very good.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nice to see an actor so devoted to not being fake becoming like the highest paid actress of 2010 and 2012. I mean,
yeah,
it's just kind of
it's her,
shocking.
her stardom's a little weird to me, because I don't know if it's. I mean, I think people are beginning to understand. She may have been in some hit movies, but she's not a typical star. Like, I think people are starting to get that. Like,
Totally.
there's a game we play. I'm sure you play it. Rock, paper, scissors.
Mm.
Um, well, I always was weird by that. I was always freaked out by that game, because paper beats rock, and I never understood that. Like, well, how does paper beat rock? But then I always thought of that as a metaphor for Kristen Stewart, that her paper beats like just a ballsy, like, I got a big role and I'm a girl power and I got a powerful strong female role and look at me, like that.
Yeah,
She finds a way to deflect that.
I know what you mean. It's funny when you mentioned that. I just thought about an actress that I think is great, but just different, and it's Margot Robbie. I think she's more like The Rock because she's
Yes,
like
exactly.
she's very talented. She's gorgeous. She's like a prototype of of the best possible modern actress. But I feel like there's a kind of strain to her. There's a kind of like, you can see when you look at her act that she worked hard for it. You watch I, Tonya and you're like, wow. And that's not saying she's bad. Like, it's just a completely different type of
Yeah,
modern acting.
that's a great example. I mean, she did a movie with Will Smith that nobody talks about. I think it's called Focus, where she plays
Focus,
a
yeah.
con woman, but
I haven't
it's
seen
a
it, but
big, glamorous role, and I think she is incredible in it. And it's sad that the movie doesn't get as noticed much. I, Tanya, on the other hand, which I am controversial in not being a fan of, um, I thought, like, give me Kristen Stewart as Tanya Harding. Like, I thought she was playing it a little too to the rafters. Like, it's like,
right.
Tanya Harding, look at this, I got a huge role. Like, that I wasn't, and maybe it's because I knew Tanya Harding a little bit more than most people, but it
Oh,
didn't feel real to me.
right. That's interesting. Um, yeah, and so I think now is a good time to maybe talk about um, Clouds of Sils Maria, because
Oh,
I
it's
think it's kind of the text that brings it all together.
yes, I call it the core text if you're talking about Kristen Stewart, and she won a César. Come on, they don't give
Exactly.
those to Americans every day.
Yeah. Apparently, she was
Uh,
the first woman, American woman, to get it,
oh
and the
wow,
first and the first
that's
American person in 30 years or something like that. Like she
oh
was,
my God, that's
it had been a
crazy.
while. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, I mean, I can watch that movie over and over because it has such a great dynamic
Hmm.
that that she does these scenes where she's rehearsing with Kristen Stewart. I mean, with Juliette Binoche, who's awesome and is in full Binoche-ness.
As always.
And and okay, so Kristen Stewart is an actor playing a non-actor, trying to half-act in a rehearsal with a real actress with dialogue that is complete subtext to the text.
I know.
I mean, there's so many layers going on, and I'm just like, and if you go too far on any individual layer, the alchemy is going to get blown out of the water. It's going to be wrong. And she is just so lived in and so real, and you forget. I mean, you can't even forget it's Kristen Stewart because only Kristen Stewart could do this. Like, it's amazing. And you know what else I like about that movie is the the Blu-ray Criterion Collection Blu-ray extra of her being interviewed. That's one of her great performances too.
Really.
Like I think she's amazing in that. I mean, she she talks about how she came after Olivia Sayas and like just started talking about the role and how men have meant to her, and then she realizes a half hour of just talking that he was coming to offer her the role that Chloe Grace Moretz plays, and he wasn't even offering the role of the assistant,
Really? That's
which
really
I
surprising.
thought I know I thought it was amazing, but it's not surprising because Chloe Grace Moretz in that movie is actually playing in a way Kristen Stewart,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm babbling, but
No,
um,
no, no.
another remarkable one of the most remarkable scenes in the movie is just Kristen Stewart and Julie Binoche talking at a hotel bar, and basically Kristen Stewart is defending herself in the form of Chloe Grace Moretz's role as like an American crazy actress in a crazy genre piece, and
Yeah.
like she's like, well, and despite of her superpowers, and like, and Juliette Binoche can't get past that line. She keeps laughing, despite the
I know.
superpowers, and but she's like trying to say that, like what we've been saying is, despite she's in a goofy genre, there's something real going on there. And she's like,
Yeah.
and Kristen Stewart's like, well, just because she's in a spaceship, and Juliette Binoche cracks up again, just because she's in a spaceship, but it's almost like Kristen Stewart's defending her entire
Mm,
career, but
definitely. I think like I'm really surprised to hear that Asayas hadn't thought of her for that character, because the fact that the character defends that genre and defends all that and plays someone who is kind of like not an actor but like kind of like a half actor. I thought that was an amazing commentary on Kristen Stewart's style, which is all about
and
kind of just
and
reading
and
the lines.
exactly. And maybe Kristen Stewart's just blowing smoke us, making for a fun interview,
Maybe.
but maybe also the character was different, and she made it more Kristen Stewart by playing it.
Mm,
It's a fascinating interview because she talks about how much because a lot of your other guests, like your friend who did the Montgomery Cliff last week, has such great detail on what their real lives like and what their real process was like. I don't know Kristen Stewart's real process, but she does in that interview. It's a very interesting way she talks about hating rehearsal, and I totally believe it, that she needs to just have that first take, that first grappling of the role, that's so Kristen Stewart to me. And I love she talks about hiding from Juliette Binoche, who wanted to rehearse constantly, and she would just like always make up excuses for having a cold or laryngitis, or that, which to me is also so Kristen Stewart.
Totally. I can totally imagine that as well. Her entire style is based on being truthful, and even if you're saying something crazy, you say it like a normal person would say it. So yeah, if you rehearse too much, I can imagine that that could get in the way. I mean, I'm sure she still was like very good about learning her lines and all that, because otherwise you can't do anything. But
Yeah.
I can imagine that she's not into rehearsal. And it's interesting because at the same time, I think the film is kind of about the different acting styles of someone like her and someone like Juliette Binoche, who is as comfortable on the theater stage as she is in films, and who has been doing this for a billion years, and who is extremely comfortable in anything she does. Binoche can portray vulnerability and all that, but it's I feel like it's a more worked out process. She's
Well,
managed to find a way
I
to
mean,
do it.
I mean, again, she's somebody probably should have done an earlier episode with, but I mean,
Sorry.
she's one of the greats. She's one of the great thoroughbreds. Like, you feel like there's some actresses that can do anything, and she's one of them. But it's almost like Michael Jordan or LeBron James, to throw in sports references, that she's so good. Like, you just don't doubt. You're like, oh, that
Mm,
Binoche, there she does it again.
institution.
When Kristen Stewart's, it's almost like, surely Kristen Stewart's going to fail doing this. Like, wait a minute, is she, like, there's times in Closet Silmarilla where, like, is she okay? Is she getting her lines right? Is she doing this wrong? And like, and that's what makes it so right, that you think she may be doing it wrong.
Yeah, totally. And I think it plays, you're right, like into the story, which is all about this kind of strange connection between Kristen Stewart's assistant and Jules Binoche, the famous actress. Like, there's an entire sort of psychosexual thing going on. I don't see it as very sexual, but I understand what people said that when it came out. I see it as more like about getting old, being talented, reading a text in a certain way depending on where you come from, the generation change. But yeah, I think the fact that she seems so weird compared to Juliette Binoche, who's like well established as a person, as a character, someone who's lived. It really emphasizes that contrast, and that's why I think SAS surely wrote this for her. I mean, I'm sorry, or he didn't,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
was an amazing break. But yeah, it's amazing how these things
yeah.
work
I
sometimes.
think, again, to keep using the word alchemy, but it was an amazing alchemy. Whatever the truth behind it was, that it worked out
Mm,
amazing. And there's something incredibly moving that Kristen Stewart just disappears in the movie.
yeah.
It's something so interesting, that, like, that, in this world, she's kind of missed. Like, she doesn't quite belong in this world.
Mm. I've had so many different theories thrown at me. Like, people were like, is she just a vision of Juliette Binoche? Like, I don't know.
Ah,
Like, I think the whole point is that we don't know, and that, yeah, she just kind of is present without being really there, and then she's gone, and her absence is felt, even though if it's only by Juliette Binoche it is felt. Yeah. I think
absolutely,
we would miss Kristen Stewart if she stopped making movies. Same way.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
um yeah, but, as I said, we love her, but there is some weirdness that I don't know if she can play. Sometimes I wonder if she can play anybody other than herself.
Yeah.
That, like, she was in them. She's played, like, in a couple of movies that are biographical movies. Hello, like Gene Seberg, and and she played Joan Jett in The Runaways.
Yeah,
And
and Lizzie
I have,
Borden as well.
yeah, and she, sometimes you call upon your actor to embody this non-fictional character, and she doesn't embody anything. Like, you got to come to her.
Yeah.
And which I like. which I like 9 times out of 10, but sometimes it's just like you feel her flailing, like
Mm.
when she's like she's not my Joan Jett, she's not. But that said, I just heard that she's doing a movie with the weird, strange director Pablo Larraín, where she's going to play Lady Di,
I
and
know.
that I'm interested in because I know he's going to do something perverse, and I got enough Lady Di in my life, so I'll take Kristen Stewart's Lady Di.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, that it's super interesting. She's done so many biopics, and I when we prepared for this episode, you sent me a list of films I should watch and you think I should watch, and in that list there was a section called like losers to avoid, and basically it was all the biopics she's done.
I know, and
And
I felt bad when I said that. Oh no, she should probably be watching The Losers to avoid because that'll make it interesting. Like
yeah, I mean,
she's got.
I've seen the trailers, and I immediately was put off by the idea of her playing Seberg, for instance. I just don't see it. But then again, like you're saying, like Pablo Larraín's biopics are not typical biopics. He likes to play with the persona and the image of the person rather than
Absolutely,
themselves. So
yeah,
in that sense, yeah, maybe she's the right person to play Big Diana, because Lady Diana in a way is someone that we don't know what she was like as a person. All we know is that the queen hated her and there's this entire persona around her, but there's no real person there. Like it's just
yeah.
a
I don't need
ephemeral
to
thing.
see Gene Seberg or Joan Jett subverted, but
Yeah.
Lady Di, give me that Kristen Stewart subversion because I need it. Like
Yeah. I can totally see that happening.
but sometimes I like to, as a parlor game, I like to think of like great roles throughout history and what would Kristen Stewart be like? Like if she was in Clute, that would have been amazing. But
Yes.
but she's not going to play Blanche Dubois, or like there's some roles I actually maybe I do want to see her Blanche Dubois because she'll bring something completely different energy to it.
That's true. She might make it even sadder and scarier because it would be more real or something. Or it might
Yeah,
just
no,
not
I
work
mean,
and be confusing.
I like to see her line reading of "I've always relied on the kindness of strangers." I've always
Mm.
relied on the kindness. I wish I could do a better imitation.
Um,
I have female friends who can do great Kristen Stewart's, like
really.
which I think.
I don't know if I can imitate her, but I know that what she does all the time when she's worried is that she just kind of scrunches up her nose. She's like this, and she just is like like does so much of that in Twilight. And in Twilight, obviously, she bites her lip a lot.
Oh
She
yeah, she
just
doesn't bite the lip. She
God, that's her
sticks her
one
tongue
tool.
against her teeth. Like I believe me, I, maybe I'm a little stalkery, but I've cataloged her kind of ticks and like her little phrases.
Yeah, but it is this is what make her, like you say, like stand out in her roles in a way that doesn't distract really. Because that's the thing as well. It's not that she's like, I'm gonna be myself and fuck the script, I don't care. Like she's doing that because she wants the person to look like a real person. It's not
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
self-serving, arrogant thing, I don't think.
absolutely not. Yeah, no, I mean, I think because Kristen Stewart to me is she is such a person of today that like so when I see a creaky old genre or a creaky old trope or something I've seen 1,000 times before, it's like she like because my theory as a writer is always okay, don't do the cliche, but don't do the documentary version. Do a third version in the middle that takes what we all know about the cliche and what we know about reality and create a third realm. And that's always been my version as my goal as a writer. And she seems to have me and Kristen. We have the same goals. What can I
I
say?
hope you work with her one day.
I well, that's that is the moral. The moral of our show right now is that for all our compliments we gave Clouds of Sil Maria and everything, I don't think her true masterpiece has been written yet.
Okay.
Like I think there's a role that I don't know if I'm going to be the one to create it, but I think there's a role out there that still needs to be the Kristen Stewart role
Mm.
that that maybe has more ambition to it, but still has that Kristen Stewart drawing it back and making it
Mm.
real. I mean, she'd be a great Hamlet. Like not literally like let's do Hamlet again. Um,
Yeah.
but if I could write something that good, I'm gonna try.
Give it a go. I mean, you got nothing to lose. Just try.
Kristen Stewart's Hamlet. That's a good thing to put on my
You
vision
know, if
board.
you can make the young teenagers learn about Shakespeare, that'd be fucking amazing. So why not?
I love naked attempts to make teenagers learn Shakespeare. I mean, the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. That's I know Shakespeare. If he saw that, he would love it.
Exactly. I mean, is there's been so much damage already. If you do something, he won't mind anymore. It's fine.
Yes, yes. He's fine with anything at this
Yeah,
point. He just like people are still talking about me. I'm just happy to be talked
exactly.
about.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Yes.
um,
Oh, Bill.
all right. Any final words on?
Wait, where's my where's where?
Did you
Let's see
actually
if I
have a
have some more.
list or?
No. So you were a big fan of Adventureland.
Yes.
I did. I just watched that again recently.
I didn't rewatch
I
it,
realized
but
I realized why that movie drove me nuts is because I wrote and directed a summer camp movie, and they had such a better soundtrack than I did, and they had so much more money than I did. So I had to overcome my anger at that film, and I also was angry because Kristen Stewart plays a girl who is like a teenager my age, so it was hitting too close to home that she was wearing these T-shirts of the bands I used to love, like Husker Du and Joy Division, and I'm like, that girl didn't exist. It did not look like she did not look like Kristen Stewart or act like Kristen
I
Stewart.
see.
But when I watched it this weekend, I got past all that, and she has some amazing scenes where she's basically through Jesse Eisenberg's life. And by the way, she's done 3 Jesse
I
Eisenberg
know. I think they have amazing
and
chemistry.
anybody
I
can.
think.
And I like Jesse Eisenberg, but if you can be a convincing romantic lead for Jesse Eisenberg 3 times, you're a great actress.
Absolutely.
But
I
yeah,
mean, he did play the guy who couldn't have a girlfriend in The Social Network. So indeed, he's not an easy pairing to make.
but I had forgotten her amazing scenes in that movie with Ryan Reynolds, where the
Don't
coolest
remember.
girl in the world is with a guy who's older, and she can still be vulnerable and have her heart broken, and
Right, I remember now.
she's so cool in the movie. She has so many great line readings. There's one line that's going to be completely out of context, but I still think about this line reading to this day. You didn't just fuck her anyway? Like she gets me. She gets me like that.
Yeah, I will try and contextualize that for our listeners with a clip or something. But yeah, and I also really liked her turn in American Ultra, which is kind of what we were saying, like playing a genre, updating it, and making it different.
Again, I rewatched that movie, and like that movie's complete lunacy, very silly, and I had forgotten the big twist in the movie,
Right?
and her line delivery of the words, "Yeah, I'm CIA,"
Yeah,
like it's a completely silly, crazy plot twist, but she still refuses not to be Kristen Stewart. I mean, not to be Kristen Stewart. Like she still plays it so real, and he totally like the character's absurd. It's about a CIA handler who falls in love with their stoner subject, and like, but with Kristen Stewart, you totally believe she would throw away her CIA career to hang out with a stoner Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Like she's great. And her third Jesse Eisenberg movie is a Woody Allen movie, Cafe Society. Not a great movie at all. But again, I was shocked that like Woody Allen now writes, he does only for, I used to love him. He don't get me started on anything else, but he has a cadence. He's just overly developed I call him a guy who only does first drafts. He has got a cadence for all the characters.
Yeah.
And especially snappy female characters. And even in that movie, Kristen Stewart defeated him. Like she would make his kind of silly, over the top, nobody speaks like this way, and he writes nobody speaks like that dialogue, and suddenly when she says it, that's the way people speak. Like
Yeah.
she can.
I think that's why that movie partly didn't work as well. That means it's not her fault. It's just like the style is completely out of step with what she can do. It's like she can do better than just be a fake Woody Allen character. She can make it real, which is not something he's used to, I think. Which is something that maybe used to happen when you make good movies.
She does throw the movie off, and at that point I was like, please throw this movie off, take it off a train track. But but she it's almost like when she does Period. It's a weird thing because she's so last week. She's so today that it's almost like you're going to find out a plot twist that she built a time travel machine and she's just coming back and for a science project in 2050, and now she's got to go back and like, all right, that was interesting. Bye.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, like in American Ultra, when she says I'm CIA, like because she's so real, I almost didn't believe her. I was like, you're not CIA, you're just his girlfriend. What are you talking about? And it makes sense it really elevates the script to something much more kind of, it's still silly, but it's kind of more heartbreaking because never in a million years would he have thought that she's CIA, and never in a million years would she even make him think that. So it's just it. She makes it because she makes it so grounded. It has much more power, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's again, it goes back to Twilight. It goes back to all the genre movies that wait a second, like why am I feeling grounded here? I didn't even ask to be feel grounded here, but it's making everything so much better in a way I didn't even realize.
Mm. I think when they booked her for Twilight, it was kind of a crazy bet, though. Like, because I guess she wasn't that successful at the time. She had done Panic Room, but after that she struggled. And then they found this girl who makes it look really normal. But then the direction of the film is kind of crazy. So I think it was a question of balance,
The
maybe.
the first one's kind of directed a little naturalistically, and then they get
Mm.
loonier and loonier. But one of my favorite moments of Kristen Stewart in a Twilight movie is when she starts hanging out with the werewolf boys, and they're all walking around wearing loincloths or whatever, and she's just sitting there, and she gives this little snicker like, well, how'd I get here? Like, that and it's maybe Kristen Stewart, the actress, saying, how did I get in this movie? But it plays like, again, another actress would go, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm in a family of werewolves.
Yeah.
How did I get in this mess? Like, she's just like, oh my God, my life.
Yeah. And then it's so funny in the Twilight series how there's very sporadic voiceover, and it's always like
Oh,
her
it all
stating
comes out of
facts that
nowhere.
are
I'm like,
so
whoa, whoa,
surreal.
whoa, 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 what? Kristen Stewart snake in the projection booth? What happened?
Yeah. And it's like she just says something like, Edward is a vampire. And it's like, it's just, if you spell it out like that, you making it more weird than you did with your just natural acting. It's like
I
the film is trying
that's so
to,
funny that you bring that up,
you
because I'm
know,
always like, the narration always like, no, no, you don't need that. Stop it. She's working. She's doing your narration for you. You don't
exactly.
need narration if the actor's working good.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I think there's like one ending where she's like, she wants him to make her a vampire, but then he's like, no, we need to get married first. And then there's voiceover at the end where she's like, well, it will happen one day that I'll be a vampire, but not yet. And it just ruins it so much because she
Yeah.
was just acting that. She just showed that in her scene with him. She was like, okay, one day,
Oh,
whatever. And then they have to reiterate it. I mean, yeah, I think the film I think her performances get in that saga gets a lot of bad rap, but it's just the filmmaking that is poor, and she did her best with what she
yeah.
had.
These movies wouldn't exist without her. I mean, they'd
Mm.
exist, but we wouldn't. Not that everybody's talking about them now, but she made those movies.
Mm.
And I've since learned to love Robert Pattinson as one of my most beloved actors, but he didn't have the same effect on me in those movies, where I thought he was just a pretty boy
Yeah,
doing things. But even
totally.
watching, but maybe I got to go back and rewatch them again now that I know he's a great actor.
Honestly, it doesn't really come through in those films, I don't think.
Okay,
Sadly,
okay,
I think he would be an interesting subject for a podcast at some point because his career is also
absolutely.
similarly
Oh
crazy.
yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
he's amazing now.
mm,
I look forward to his movies now.
yeah, the Batman.
Everybody's got to do a Batman once.
Yeah, yeah. I really like how in your film Batman Returns, when Michelle Pfeiffer meets Batman, she says, "Oh, is it Batman or the Batman?" And now, then after your films, they made the Nolan Batman, which was just called Batman, and now the Pattinson one is called the Batman.
I try to have a little fun. I mean, my Batman movie gets criticized by true Batman fans for breaking all the rules, but for people who don't live or die by Batman movies, I think it's a refreshing one in the oeuvre.
It really is. It really has that playful thing that Nolan completely destroyed. So yeah.
Because I'm not a reader of comic books, but in fact, it was the Catwoman character that got me involved in the movie. That I
Really?
had such a good take. I had such a strong take on her character, and like I got her voice right away. But again, I say I got her voice, but I needed Michelle Pfeiffer to meet me halfway and make it real.
She's so amazing. I mean, we're going completely off course now, but just
It's
wanted
the
to
course.
say,
As long as the course is still me, it's all good.
yeah. And I love how that film, because female actresses don't get cool parts, but I think this is an amazing part because she's got such range. She plays a shy secretary, and then she plays a badass Catwoman. I mean, and
Well,
she makes
again,
it great.
again, it goes back to what I was saying about strong female roles. Like, you don't talk about men having strong male roles.
No.
Like, my favorite male roles are fucked up and complex and not weird, like Jack Nicholson in Five Easy Pieces.
Hmm.
That's not a strong male role, but it's like a great juicy male role. And like I think that's what we need.
Mm,
I always say the most daring thing you can do is give a woman a sense of humor. Like that is something that is much more subversive than having her beat up a bunch of guys in a van.
totally. I totally agree. And that's why Tasty was good in Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I mean, she beat some people up, but she was always doing it with like, can you believe I'm doing this?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Totally, totally. All right. I think we've covered so much ground, and
Well,
all of it.
you don't need anybody to come in and tell you why Gina Rollins is a good actress, but I'm glad we came together on
Yeah,
Kristen Stewart because I think some people in the masses need to be educated. I
I
just
think
like
so.
when people look at your site, they're going to see the list of all these actors and Kristen Stewart. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, she's huge. I mean, she's relevant,
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, I'm not.
can't
I'm
wait to
not.
see.
You guys have made me overcome my shame.
Oh no, don't be ashamed.
No,
No,
it's
no,
good.
she's
We're
great. Yeah.
case two all the way.
Kissed you all the way. I mean, yeah. I hope she sees this and she accepts to be in one of your movies.
Oh, it's part of the plan.
Thanks for listening to or watching this episode of You Gotta Act. Find us on social media at You Gotta Act and let us know what you think. See you next time.